Oh, I don't know, Brian. I mean, I guess I can give it a shot.
Oh my god! I almost didn't do it. I thought, is this in bad taste? But you know what? I went for it. And I am so glad I did. Oh, worth it. Totally worth it.
Hey, welcome back to the Stash. It's that time of the month again, ladies and gentlemen, when we go over the latest issue of ASM. Now, I do apologize for being a tad late to the party on this one. If you keep up with the community posts I do, then you would have seen that I've been working pretty hard on a giant Daredevil video that will be releasing very soon, so be sure to keep an eye out for that one. But I will admit, going into this issue after where we left off, I was feeling quite hesitant, I guess the correct word would be. I'm not sure whether it's because this volume has dragged out beyond belief, or that it's just simply because I've been so used to reading quality comics lately like the Chip Zdarsky Daredevil run, that now going back to ASM slop, it just feels like a chore. One thing's for certain though, that poor old Spidey is going to die once more. So join us today as we go over the latest installment of The Amazing Spider-Man, issue 62. But before we dive in, I just want to take a quick moment to say that your support here at The Stash truly does mean the world to me, so if you're a Spider-Man fan or just like comic content in general, consider sticking around and maybe hitting that subscribe button. But anyway, with all that being said, let's jump right back into the video. So in case you missed the previous uploads, like if there is a playlist, I'll go over a quick recap. Dr. Doom, Earth's new Sorcerer Supreme, has chosen Spider-Man to be the new champion against the 8 Scions of CYTTORAK, a mantle previously held by Doctor Strange. While Sorcerer Supreme, Strange agreed to periodically battle the Scions in exchange for some of the god CYTTORAK'S power to protect the Earth. Armed with the new arcane armor and 8 life-restoring reeds of RAGGADORR, Spider-Man must figure out how to keep the Scions from destroying Earth or die trying. He has already used 1 extra life and only has 7 remaining, and now he's broken into Doctor Strange's house, but the question is, why? So our story begins with Peter showering as he tries to relax his mind, however he's haunted by flashbacks of his rebirthing. We then quickly fast forward to Spidey, Doctor Strange and the Black Cat pulling off a heist in the Sanctum Sanctorum. Peter desperately needs this book that will help him gain incredible valuable knowledge for his long journey ahead. So after the successful mission and a weird comment made by Felicia, Peter sets out to study as much of the magic book as he can. Oh, and also it's worth mentioning that Felicia tells Peter that she's once again single, with her showing clear signs that she's actually interested in rekindling the flame, so to speak. And of course, since this is brand new day Peter, he completely bottles this opportunity, and their proper reunion is now on hold for a little while longer. Although I just find it painfully annoying that Nick Lowe not only refuses to have Peter married or even be with MJ at this point, but also for him not to have a steady girlfriend. I mean, what is actually the point of Shay? They never put in genuine effort to add a form of depth to her character and to the connection? Peter is constantly being a horrible boyfriend, which makes me wonder how low her self-esteem has to be just to put up with all his shit. And now that the office is, I'm guessing, going to have him jump back in with Felicia, it's so confusing, it's such a mess, and I just wish that those in charge would stop making Peter's love life such a boring hassle to follow, but I'll touch back on that later on in the thoughts section of the video. So after another what the hell is that moment later, we travel far into the Crisman cosmos where we see more of the Scions Peter must soon face. There seems to be some hostility within the group, and I guess it does make sense, and it's sorta expected. I'm honestly interested to see where it goes, and I'm quite enjoying the world building they're doing for them so far. I'm also pretty intrigued to see how this Scion's battle with Spider-Man plays out, especially with her deep desire to be free. I feel like it's a great setup for probably the most toughest battle yet for Spidey. But anyway, back at Peter's apartment, we discover that Norman paid him a visit to discuss something very important, but Peter got in first and told him all about his recent adventures. Norman says he doesn't believe in magic to Peter, who by the way is reading a floating book. And then he drops the bombshell that he shut down Oscorp. I can't wait for the 1 of 5 billion cover variants that has Norman walking in an alleyway with Oscorp no more plastered all over the place. Aunt May then texts Peter, which reminds him that he totally forgot that he was meant to meet her at Feast today. Norman advises that he has way bigger things to worry about, but of course Peter leaves anyway. But strangely, as he goes through his door, he's transported to a baseball field, for it is time for his next battle against another scion of CYTTORAK, this one being Cyperion. The two go back and forth, with Spidey now being a little bit more in the fight since his last one due to all his training. The battle takes a sharp turn as Cyperion banishes each part of Spider-Man into a different space of the universe. The pain is immense, but Spidey pushes through with a spell that keeps him in the fight. The two rage on in their battle, with their size becoming increasingly smaller, as well as Spidey casting a spell to limit their space and distance. And so Spider-Man, using the logic of a model of space-time, which suggests that if you go into a spaceship and flew straight, eventually you'd come back to the same location, shrinks and shrinks until he is larger than the Earth itself, and wins the fight by crushing the web dome he created. Spidey once again meets death, and goes through his rebirthing phase all over again, although this time, we're not actually shown any of it. Anyway, we're thrown into a restaurant where Peter, Randy, and Shay are talking about what I'm guessing is some of Pete's photos. Peter's spaced out once again, but Shay is quick to stand by his side. Their brief moment is interrupted, however, as our story ends on a massive cliffhanger, for it's time for yet another battle to the death. We are now 2 issues into the 8 Deaths of Spider-Man story, and I'm feeling really conflicted about it. There's a part of me that does like what they're trying to do, but another part of me just isn't really enjoying it as much as I want to. There's a lot of stuff that I feel like they could do that would make it way better. It just sort of feels bare in a sense. It feels like it's missing something. I'm not quite sure what it is. We only got 1 page seriously trying to show, without throwing in a joke, Peter attempting to really come to terms with him dying and coming back to life in literally the worst way possible. I feel like this series would benefit tenfold if Callie actually tried to show us the distress Peter would be in more often. He's not an android or Nick Lowe, he's meant to have emotions, yet the way he sort of brushes it off in this issue just made it feel like it wasn't that big of a deal. Besides the first page showing a mini flashback, the other times him dying is mentioned has a real lighthearted tone to it, and for me at least, I would have appreciated a bit more depth to that aspect of the story. I feel like it would go a long way. Now, I know at the very least, Callie is meant to be decent at writing more fun and entertaining comics, and don't get me wrong, the fighting in this was definitely interesting and pretty enjoyable to go through, but the jokes and dialogue just aren't it for me. I don't actually feel that invested with what they're saying anymore, whether that comes down to the writing or Nick the Prick Lowe saying that in short nothing will ever change within Spider-Man comics. I don't know, Ultimate Spider-Man is the only ongoing Spidey series as of late that I actually care about, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. I really hope that if there's one thing that we can get is for Spider-Man and the Black Cat to get back together again. As you probably know by now, if you're familiar with the channel, I love Peter and MJ, but if Marvel is seemingly refusing to put them in a relationship, then at the very least I'd want Peter and Felicia together. But my god, can we stop writing Peter to be such a moron? How is he this terrible with talking to women? I wasn't bitten by radioactive Romeo? We're talking about the guy who's known for only picking up insanely attractive women. I don't understand what the Spidey office's problem is with regressing Peter's character in literally every single aspect. It does make me wonder as well, what do these women actually see in this loser? I mean, Felicia especially for trying to hint at them dating again, and Shay for even putting up with his shit for so long. I feel bad for Shay, to be honest. She's just another soulless love interest created purely because the brand new day office have a massive hatred towards Mary Jane. I genuinely cannot get invested in their relationship because there's nothing there. The creators themselves aren't even invested. How has no one tried to add a form of depth to their bond? I swear after each issue it only becomes even more prominent how obvious it is that the fans care way more about the books than those in charge. At the very least, the fight was pretty good. I really liked how creative they went with it. If they're gonna do magic, you might as well just go all out, and that's exactly what they're doing here. The actual spectacle of it all was probably my main highlight. That and the artwork both easily carried the issue for me. Overall, the new ASM comic definitely had some great moments like the fighting and the world building for all the SCIONS Spider-Man must face, yet I couldn't help but feel like this was also severely brought down by the negatives that I had. I'm just not that excited by all of this. There's no real direction in ASM anymore, and it all just feels like Nick Lowe is trying to figure out what's the easiest way to span out stories across multiple months so we can make it look like we're working hard, even though in reality, we're just wasting everyone's time. I guess it is nice that this story is like a palate cleanser in a sense after all the shit we got from Zeb Wells, but with the depressing state of Spidey comics only getting more darker, I guess it simply takes the enjoyment out of the book for me. I'm still hoping for the next installment to change my perspective a bit more and to maybe properly allow me to actually have some fun with reading an ASM comic. But for now, the best way I can describe this issue is it's pretty...
What do you mean, meh?
Spider-Man,